All right, welcome into Indiebnb. Today we are joined by Juliette Rowe of Smith's Old Bar. Juliette, how are things going tonight?
It's great. Happy to be here. Thank you.
Awesome, awesome. Well, she's sitting in the legendary Atlanta room, and but before we get into kind of the Smiths history, which is going to be kind of the focal point of this podcast, I want to ask about you, Juliette. Like, how did you get into this? How did you get to up to this point, where you're the head booker at Smiths, an awesome venue in Atlanta?
Yeah, I appreciate that. I have been involved in the music industry in Atlanta probably at least 10 years now. A lot of it on the indie and DIY side, working with emerging bands. I was a partner in a record label a few years ago called Blood Drunk Records and was real involved in the East Atlanta scene for a long time, Swing Sinatra and the Joy Kills and a lot of those bands. I just have always been, I love music. I love going to shows. I love being a part of it. I just have always kind of been around and I've been managing artists in Atlanta. I've been in Atlanta probably 15 years, but I've been managing 10 or 12 years, working with different bands and really just trying to help get them established and a lot of artist development, things like that. So I've been, putting on shows and, managing bands and booking shows and doing all that. And I'll be the first to admit that I don't really have any musical talent. It's kind of funny. I can't tell you if something's out of tune. I'm not going to be setting up the stage for the band, but I can build a website and write up a marketing plan. So I kind of taught myself those skills because I knew I needed something. So that has helped me, and that's kind of what landed me at Smith's a little bit. It's been almost 2 years now, but Atlanta's great, and I moved up here for the music scene. I moved up here from Fort Lauderdale. So I love it. Every day is something new. It's great.
Awesome. Well, I mean, you've got, it's quite a resume. I mean, obviously you talked about EAV. So were you at a venue there, or was that just you were managing, you said Swank Sinatra and a few other bands, or what did that look like over in East Atlanta Village?
Yeah, I wasn't, working at a venue. My business partner at that time was working at a venue in East Atlanta Village, but he was booking shows there and doing some stuff. My business partner at that time
Mhm.
was doing some stuff there. So that's what really kind of, not that I didn't know the venue side, but I really kind of saw firsthand. I did work for a venue back in Tampa, way back in the day, in Ybor City. I worked for some promoters in St. Pete, stuff like that. So I was runner for a couple of the venues and really kind of got, on it from that side, seeing that. But that was more of a side hustle back in the day,
Yeah.
but it was great. I mean, I remember working a show for Mudvayne way back in the day in Tampa and driving the tour manager around to get Pedialyte, purple Pedialyte, and a new rug for under the drums, or else they were not going to go on stage, and it was just like one of those things. But you just had to learn how to take care of the artists and set up the green rooms and the flow of the show from 10 o'clock in the morning until everybody loads out at 2 a.m. And it was great. So I never really thought I'd be back on this side doing this full time, but I've kind of, like I said, lucked out and I love it. It's great.
Yeah. What I mean, I'm sure you've got some wild riders from I mean, I'm sure if you're working with bands like Mudvayne and that I can hear
Yeah.
that, that venue, like what's the wildest rider item you've had to go get, or the most specific maybe, I guess.
Well, I'll tell you what, I don't know what flavor it was, the Pedialyte, but I had to go around to 4 or 5 stores. I think whatever the purple flavor was or something. That's all I
Yeah.
remember. But they would not take anything else. It had to be that specific flavor. And I guess if they were on stage, kind of like Slipknot right there on stage and exerting all the sweat and energy that they had to have that Pedialyte when they came off stage. And I just was like, really can't do orange. It's got to be this other flavor. But that was it. I mean, that's what they
Yeah.
wanted. And I eventually found it, of course. But, um, we have had some artists here at Smith's ask, for 420 friendly things in a dressing room. And I'm like, sorry, guys, we can't do that.
Yeah, we're and look,
I feel you, have fun, but we can't do that. So
yeah.
sorry, on to the
Maybe
next,
maybe in Colorado, but not in old Georgia.
not
Not
here.
quite yet. But
Yeah. Yeah.
well, you're sitting in the Atlanta room, tons and tons of artists have played there. If you look behind that, I
Hmm.
mean, I was actually looking at the wall. I stood
I
there for
know.
the Medium Village show the other day, and I'm looking at it and I'm like, wow, like there are some people that have come through. But for you, as you kind of picked up the last 2 years from your predecessors at Smith's, like I guess the Smith's history and like how did we get here where we have two venues in one area? What's kind of been the progression there from the time it got started back. I don't know when they opened Smith's doors actually.
1994. Yeah.
94.
1994. So we're on our 29th year. Next year will be our 30th year anniversary. So I'm already trying to plan for that. But I'm sure a lot of people know the history, but Dan Nolan, who is our owner, and was the primary talent buyer for a long time, and then Sean McPherson obviously took over for a long time, and Brittany Burdett, they were doing great things at Smith's for years, and I've known them, and they're great. They ended up leaving during the pandemic, but Dan used to own, a lot of old school people know this, but the Cotton Club, which was in Atlanta in Midtown, and I'm not sure, I think it was 1,000 capacity. So
Wow.
he had, I mean, this is back probably mid to late '80s, and he had a lot of bands coming through. He also had a venue in Little Five Points called The Point, and that's what he had before he had Smith's. And I remember him telling me his last show at The Point was Pearl Jam. I think it was around '93,
Wow.
400 people packed in there. But the Black Crows started out of there, all kinds of shows. So Dan has been in this his whole life. And in Alabama, a lot of people know too, but in Birmingham, he's a co-owner in a place called the Nick in Birmingham, and they've been around for 40 years and total dive bar. But Dan has been booking shows there and in Birmingham for 40, 45 years in places in Alabama. So when the Point closed down, he was obviously looking for a new space. And I think the building, the Smith's Old Bar itself, it was a dinner theater and a Masonic lodge over the years. But it was vacant for a long time, and somehow Dan stumbled upon it. And he told me that when he walked in, he knew that this was the place. Him and his partner Michael Reeves, they knew that this was it. So they, got the space, and I think Smith's opened. I think it was April 1994, and it was a great time in Atlanta, right? You just think about 99X being around, radio station, right? The original, version of that, and then grunge and alternative. It really was just a golden era of all these bands, Nirvana, Pearl Jam. I mean, so many alternative bands, and here you have a brand new radio station who's playing it, and then all the bands coming from Atlanta, Collective Soul, Black Crows, Sean Mullins, Indigo Girls, like it just goes on, Butch Walker, like all this stuff happening. And so Dan was just, Smith's, everything was the right place at the right time, I think,
Yeah.
for, a lot of people. And I think the Masquerade started around that time too, and they've been doing some great shows all this time also. But I think in the mid '90s, really, like I said, was just a golden era of just a new scene of music. And, it was great.
Yeah, I mean that's a lot of heavy
Yeah.
hitters that are coming through.
Hmm.
As you kind of seen the eras, change. Like I guess with the onset of streaming and radio play being not super important, not as prevalent, I guess now.
Hmm.
Like, how have you kind of obviously adjusted your process when you're booking bands and like kind of finding those kind of diamonds in the rough, the
Hmm.
Pearl Jams, the Nirvanas of 10 years before they're who they are. Like,
Yep.
I know that I know two of the shows that you helped book. 49 Winchester I went to, and I went to Medium Build, and I know Kyle had a play in those as well
Yeah.
from Zero Mile. But like, those are two bands I don't think I'll ever see in a venue as small as Smith's ever again. I think that the
Yeah.
next
Those
time I see him, it'll be gone.
Right. Those are great. I do have to give props to Kyle. Those were his shows that he had put
Yeah.
together, but we've had some other artists in here. That's something to ask myself as a manager too. And booking shows here, I'm anybody who's emailed me can tell you I'm overwhelmed on email, as we all are.
Yeah.
But I have to constantly remind myself, and I kind of think about, like, I call it the Lady Gaga test or someone else, but it's like, can I recognize an artist who's just starting out, or Prince, right? Prince got signed when he was 17 to Warner Brothers. I think it was 1978 or 79 or something. But can I recognize someone who has that kind of undeniable talent in such a raw and early stage? And I constantly try to remind myself of that. And especially at Smith's, in a room like the Atlanta room, we get a lot of bands who maybe they don't write the best email, or they don't have a website, or all these things. But it's like, is there something there that is tangible that I can kind of see growth or something like that? And I really do try to. I listen to everything that comes in. Dan listens to everything that comes in, and it's easy to just plow through your inbox and skip all that stuff. And I tried, like I said, just try to remind myself that everybody started somewhere, and I'm even sitting in this room, and so many artists have been in this room, to 10 or 15 people, the Revivalists, Kings of Leon, Grace Potter, but you have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
So it definitely is the constant reminder I have for myself to, let's take a deep breath. Let's give this band 5 minutes of my pure undivided attention, and or whatever it takes. And is there something there, or could there be something there? We take it seriously here at Smith's, and
Yeah.
Dan takes it seriously, but I take it seriously because I love music and I love helping artists, and that just plays into my management background and artist development background, that I love trying to help artists succeed.
Yeah.
So this is just another avenue.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't
What
know if I answered your question.
Oh, definitely. No, you did. No, for sure. Like, I think you brought in your kind of your philosophy on you're like, hey, like this
Mm,
could be somebody, and you got to be able to recognize that. What's
yeah.
the nuts and bolts of that process look like? Is it, hey, like, they get 5 minutes, I'm going to listen to X amount of songs, or like,
Hmm.
or if they hook you in with their one song, and then you're like, all right, let me hear the second or third or fourth one,
Right.
or like, what's that look like?
Yeah, I always go to Spotify first,
Hmm.
and I'm just gonna kind of go off on a side tangent, but I'm just gonna tell every artist out there, please keep your Spotify updated, update it with your bio, connect your social media links. It's not hard, but literally every talent buyer, promoter, that's the first place they go. And it's almost like an EPK, if you will, and especially now that Spotify is rolling out video content, there's no reason not to. But besides all that, I go to Spotify first. I always look at the last release, and I'm not really looking at streams. I mean, I'm looking at it, of course, but if you've got 10 streams, I'm still going to listen, but I'm looking at the artwork, and I'm reading the bio, and then I'll go to Instagram and see. And, some artists are just not ready yet for a ticketed show. And I'll
Yeah.
kind of write back and say, hey, I think you guys should try some of these other avenues first and build up a little bit of following. I can tell they're super new, and sometimes they have a great song or the beginnings of great music, and I can hear it. And I'm like, yeah, let's get you in, and let's get some other bands around you, and get started. You got to start somewhere. But I just need to know that there's somebody out there who's listening to you. There's some type of audience who would be interested, or that you're working on making those connections.
Yeah. And how important, I guess, like, within, obviously, like, we talked to bands from outside of Georgia, but then even the bands
Mhm.
inside of Georgia, like, it's all right. Like, you need to have, like, if you're from local, do they get a little bit of a bump if they're a local band, and like, oh, like, maybe they got ten listeners, but we know they're
Mhm.
from here, we know that they went to college here, or something along those lines. That
Right.
it's like, that's important information to have in that bio, right?
There is, for sure. And a lot of times, bands will send that information. Oh, we haven't played before, but all of my family lives in Midtown. I know they're coming out, and things like that. So there's some kind of parameters that we kind of look at. A lot of young artists, when they have their first kind of real show, all the family and friends come out. That's
Yeah.
always a good one to book, and we're happy to be a part of it,
Yeah.
something like that. So it just there's a multitude of things that I look at, and I make all those decisions, within a couple of minutes. It's not rocket science, but it's just kind of what your gut saying. We do have so many touring bands hitting us up that it's a good opportunity for local bands, if they
Yeah.
haven't played before, to come in and kind of be local support for whatever band, wherever they're from. And it's a good opportunity to swap shows and maybe make a connection with the band from North Carolina. You can go over there and play a show. So it's a win-win for everybody. But I've started several bands out in this room that way, kind of being local support. And I'm like, it helps the touring band. It helps you without taking the full pressure of trying to sell out the whole show by yourself. So
Yeah.
it's kind of worked out. It's kind of worked out. So I'm grateful to the bands that have taken me up on the offer and have come in and played for some of these touring bands, because it's the same. I mean, you could be an Atlanta band and trying to play Greenville or Charlotte, and you still have to find local support over there, so everybody's going through it.
Yeah,
So
I love that. What within a, I guess, historical part, somebody who comes to mind for you is like they kind of went through that step of like, all right, hey, like they hit me up, they were, in kind of in flex, and I gave them some advice. They came back to me later, they had taken my advice, and then,
mhm.
who's somebody that you're like, man, I'm proud of them. Like they, took my advice, took the steps, and, now they're, in a great position, for them moving forward.
Yeah, the Corduroy Blue, of course, a lot of people know those guys are
Cool.
great, and they work hard at promoting, and they're very on point with communication, but they've done us some favors, by supporting touring bands in the Atlanta room, and we've returned the favor to them by putting them upstairs in the music room. And then, of course, they've earned that, as they should have, and they bring out the crowd. It's been good. There's a few other bands. Of course, I'm drawing a blank right now, but
Yeah.
there's some other bands, and I'm appreciative of the artists that listen to me when I'm on email and I say, hey guys, let's do one more time in the Atlanta room just to give you another solid ticket history before we bump you upstairs. It's a big jump, to go to 100 to 300. And
Yeah.
I don't blame anybody for trying. Of course, it's beautiful in the music room. Everyone wants to be up there, but I appreciate some of these artists taking the steps with me and,
Yeah.
trying to build that history and ticket buyer history too.
Yeah. Now, for you, like, I mean, like, obviously, you probably get a lot of different, genre, different, people, coming around. Like, is there anything like, does Smiths kind of have a? I mean, I've seen a ton of different shows there, so I don't think
Hmm.
you guys have like everyone's like, oh, it's a X bar, it's a deadhead
Yeah.
bar, and where you're, but do you have like do you have ever think about like I don't know that I've ever seen like a very super heavy show there, like
Hmm.
somebody who's I would expect to see maybe over in in the masquerade. So like, is there ever
Right.
kind of the diversity? Do you ever look at that and you're like, all right, I've booked X amount of country bands or these bands,
Hmm.
or do you ever look at that and you're like, all right, like I maybe need to spread out, maybe try to get a different crowd in here, or like what's that look like?
Yeah, I definitely am going on the music and what the artist is about. We had a sold out show on Saturday night down here this past Saturday with DuPont Brass Band. They're a 9-piece brass band from New Orleans. I'm sorry, from Washington, D.C. They were
Yeah,
great. They were great. And that's not something that we've done those shows a lot in the past upstairs, but to be in the Atlanta room with that, a couple guys were off the stage, they were on the side, they wouldn't all fit on the stage, It
that's
was great,
awesome.
but there are some parameters. I mean, I know Smith's history. We've had a lot of metal artists and some really heavy, heavy rock artists reach out to us. And not that I don't pursue like that stuff. And we have done it here in the past. And I will email back and say, oh, I think you should reach out to the Masquerade or Furnace
Yeah,
41 or Sweetwater and Duluth. I just don't think we're the right place for you. And I'm
yeah,
not saying that to, oh, I just don't want to book that. But, those bands being in those venues that cater to that, those venues have those ticket buyers that they can reach out to. We
yeah,
don't necessarily have that crowd, So some of the hardcore punk stuff, I mean, I've sent, quite a few things to the Masquerade and Star Bars, rockabilly stuff,
yeah,
so it just goes, we do have a diverse crowd here, which we're thankful for. But some things I know that are not really in our wheelhouse, and I do send elsewhere. Like I said, not that I don't personally like it or want to do it, but it's just
yeah,
probably not the best for us and the best for you, and probably
yeah.
should look somewhere else.
Yeah, I think that's good for them to like hear like, hey, look, like, all right, now I know like this is,
Hmm.
you have like a base of marketing. It's like you have your names, you have the people that you kind of have a group of people that what you expect. Like, when I get a
Right.
Smith, I know what I'm expecting. Like, if I see something I'm out of context, I'm like,
Mm.
whoa, oh, all right, well,
Yeah.
like I'd probably come check it out, but I don't know that there's a lot like I'm on the way diverse scale. There's some people who are just like,
Sure.
yeah, I'm not, I don't know. But I like that there's a referral network of like, hey, maybe you need to check these
Yeah.
guys out, or, throw them over. And I'm sure that a stamp from you gives that, that booker over there a look
Yeah.
to be like, oh yeah, like, all right, if Juliet's listen to them, thinks they're good, like
Mm.
we're definitely gonna take a look. That's interesting.
Yeah,
Um,
I hope so. And I think, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I
no,
think
no,
that
no.
it's kind of like a friendly competition, but everybody kind of has what I feel like in Atlanta. The Earl kind of has their thing that they do, 529 has their thing, Center Stage, Law Final have their thing, but it is a little bit of a friendly competition. I do, I've lost a few shows to some other venues, and some other bigger artists, and sometimes I have an offer out on a bigger band, and then I'll see it on someone else's website. So we didn't, and I'm just like, damn
Yeah,
it, But I probably have gotten a few shows here that maybe they had offers that on, and for whatever reason, so it's up to the management and artists and wherever they feel like they want to
yeah,
be, and things like that. So, but yeah, anytime someone else emails me and says, hey, this would be great for Smiths. It's not right for us, and I certainly will take a look, and I hope that they do the same. You know.
yeah. I love that. It's the kind of the Atlanta community. It's like how you build a real scene is like it's a
Mm,
friendly competition, and we want everybody wants to get the shows they want, but if there's things that are better fits elsewhere, I love that. That's
yeah,
something that I definitely didn't know. So thank you for sharing that.
of course.
One of the things like I'd love to know is most memorable, I guess, like I asked you earlier, I was like best value band. So somebody who you brought in, like maybe they were asking for they're asking for X or Y or whatever, but like they
Hmm.
greatly exceeded what it ended up being, as far as like bringing people in, and it was just wow, like they I expected X, and we ended up getting 3X whatever we wanted,
Right.
as far as from what Smith's takes home. So like, who's the best value band that you guys have booked, maybe not maybe recently or within the past couple
Yeah.
of years?
That's hard. It's funny. Like I said earlier, like I always draw a blank, but people put me on the spot. But we did have Mega Mango in recently, and they're from Central Florida, I think. And we had them on a Wednesday night, a couple Wednesdays ago, and they did 96 tickets. On a
Mhm.
Wednesday, it was a great
Yeah.
lineup of local support, and they had been through already. And they that was another case where they'd asked about being upstairs, and I was like, let's just one more time, down here. But that was a great touring band that had, you know, promotion down. They had great artwork, and they were on point, and the people came out for it, and it was
Yeah.
it was really good. So I was happy to see that.
That's awesome.
We've had a few other bands. We've had some sold out Monday nights here in the Atlanta room, which is great. I have to go
Yeah.
back and look, but selling out on a Monday night, even though it's only 100 tickets, it's still kind of sold out. And you're like, wow, okay, I did not expect that, for sure. But it was great. It was good, good to have. So
96 tickets. So I've always like people always ask me on this, like, hey, like what's the cap? So the cap in the Atlanta room, 100 people,
yep,
and then upstairs 300.
upstairs
Yeah,
300. Yep.
gotcha. Okay. Yeah, it's good to get the capacities right. Now they always been that way. Like, is there like I know there's the tables upstairs,
Hmm.
like how do you kind of push that premium experience? Like, do the tables sell out well, or is it something that kind of we put them up there and just see how they do, or what's kind of like that? How do you get that next level of revenue coming in from those
Yeah,
table
the
tickets?
tables do pretty well, and as you know, you've been to the music room. That generally is our only seating, unless it's a seated show. We have a show in May coming up that's a seated show, and the capacity is much lower. We've knocked
Mhm.
that down to 130, so it's comfortable a space in there. But that is only seating on the side. It works out great. I usually tell like the younger bands, I'm like, your parents are probably want to buy that table. So when they
Yeah,
go on sale, like let your parents know, because and usually it's like, three or four of those tables to be sold to parents and grandparents and things like that.
yeah,
But it's a great viewing spot. I've sat up there, but even before I worked at Smith's before the pandemic, I remember buying a table and seeing some bands and sitting down. And I'm getting old now. It's like I don't want to stand up for 3 hours.
uh,
Whatever. The music room, being remodeled now since the pandemic, and have to give it credit to Dan and you know Bo for having the foresight to kind of do that and realizing that there was time and space to do that. Unfortunately, there was time and space since we were closed,
yeah,
but it looks and feels great now, and I think it's really it's turned a corner, and it's hard, I think, with a venue when you've been around for 29 years. Things kind of get a little stale. But if you've been to Smith's lately, we've got new flooring and seating and tables and lights and stuff like that. So it's just trying to get us ready for the next 29 or 30 years.
Yeah,
So
for sure. I mean, I'll be one of those. I'm one of those local people who has definitely benefited from the. I've seen it before in the after. I think it's
mhm.
the flooring upstairs was such a big move. I love that.
Yeah,
To get that carpet up and
right.
get something new in there. I think it sounds better too.
It
So
does sound better, actually.
yeah,
It does sound better. We've had some good compliments from some touring musicians who play all over the world, and they've told us, Jesse Dayton said it when he was here, and David Ryan Harris, and both of those, if you just look at their musical history, I mean, David plays with John Mayer, right? I mean, they've been all over the world, but I was here for both of those shows, but they came up to us after and said, this is the one of the best sounding rooms in the country right now. And I was just like, like,
oh,
that's just a good compliment from people that have their kind of pedigree and history and things like that. It was a real compliment. It was
love
nice to
that.
hear.
Love that. Well,
So
I want to know, well, before we get into Pete Peterson, I want to know one last thing.
yeah.
Dream band, dream lineup. Anybody ever. You can book them at Smith's,
Man,
and who's the lineup? I'll give you three. Or I'll give you two. Either one you want to do. But like, who's the
listen.
dream music room lineup for Juliet?
Listen, everybody that knows me knows I'm a huge Florence and the Machine fan, and I'm a huge Nine Inch Nails fan, and they're both kind of opposite, you
Yeah,
know. But to see someone like that, on our stage would be special. But just thinking about the way the music room looks and the hardwood floors, I mean, if somebody like Dolly Parton or something like that were to come in and do that kind of classic show, I mean, it would just be amazing. It really would be great, and of course, all these big artists that have played. I didn't even know that Luke Combs had played Smiths, and Chris Stapleton. I mean, I think he played here before he went solo, but even to have those guys come back. But we had Old Dominion come back last year, and I didn't even know that they had played. But when they were on tour with Kenny Chesney, and they did these pop-up shows along the tour route. But just having someone, they've won Grammys, and as big as they are on our stage, I mean, it was great. We all just felt so good about that. There was a lot of work that went into it. I about flipped out when the email came in from the agent, like, hey, we're thinking about doing this, are you interested? I think I answered in about 2 minutes. I was like, yes. Yes, we are. Let me know what we have to do to make this happen. But
yeah.
that was a great day. It was awesome.
I love that. I love
So,
that. That's awesome. We'll get into. I'm going to ask you some weirder questions now.
okay.
Less venue, more. These are all this or that, food based mainly. These are Pete Peterson's party pack of questions, a part of the Indiebnb lore. We did it on your stage. Actually, it's been done on, well, not on the stage. We were on the amp in front of the stage, but we asked some people
Right.
this in between the set of the show we hosted up there for Pacifica. But if you're ready for it, Pete Peterson's party
Okay.
pack
I'll do my
questions.
best.
20 questions right in a row.
All
Cake
right.
or pie? What do you prefer?
Say that again.
Cake or pie? What do you prefer?
Oh, gotcha. Pie.
Okay. Salad or soup?
Salad.
Sunrise or sunset?
Sunset.
Would you rather hit a home run or score a touchdown?
Score a touchdown.
Or you prefer a night in or a night out? I think I know the answer to this one.
I'm gonna say night out.
Night out. Love it.
Yeah.
When you're walking to a party on your night out and your jam comes on, maybe you're upstairs, after 10 p.m. at Smith's and your jam
hmm
comes on. Are you more likely to do the robot or the worm?
God. Probably the robot, but a bad form of it.
I like it. I like it. All right. Guac or queso, your favorite Atlanta Mexican spot?
Uh, Guacamole. Yeah.
Guacamole. I love it. All right. Waffles or pancakes?
Man, waffles.
All right. All right. Coffee or tea with those waffles?
Coffee, for sure.
Dogs or cats?
I'm gonna say both, but dogs.
Dogs. All right. Are you more like a ninja or a pirate?
Man, I'm gonna say pirate. Just I
Okay.
grew up on the Gulf Coast in Alabama, and was always at the beach. So we'll say pirate.
Love it. All right. Gatorade or Powerade? No, it's not it's no purple Pedialyte, but it'll
I
replace you.
know.
Which one do you follow up?
Let's say Powerade.
All right. Keep it local. The Coke brands.
Hmm.
Toast or bagels? What do you prefer in the morning?
Toast.
Toast. I like
Toast.
it. Chips or pretzels?
Chips.
All right. All right. Fries or tots?
Fries.
Are aliens real?
You know what? I'm gonna show my age and go back to the original X-Files movie. In the beginning, they had found out the aliens had already been here this whole time.
Yeah.
And I do think it's a little naive of us to think that we're the only intelligent life form in the whole universe. I'll just leave it at that.
Okay. I like it. I like
Yeah.
it. Is Bigfoot real?
They've got drawings of Bigfoot all over the world in all different languages with all different names. Got to be something to it.
We got it. All right. All right. Is love at first sight real?
Yeah.
Yeah. TV show or movies? What are you watching at the end of the day when you kick your feet up?
TV show.
TV show. All right. And finally, this is going to be a quite a kind of a difficult one, but who are two bands that we ought to check out that we might not know about that you have your Juliette Rowe stamp of approval on? You've mentioned quite a few up to this point, but I want to give me
Right.
two more that you feel like
Yeah.
would be ones that we need to check out.
That's a good call. That's a good question. Let me think about that. So, we've had a band in the Atlanta room several times. Their name is Pure Intruders. So I'm gonna say them because first time I heard Madeline sing and saw her on stage, I was like, wow, this is great.
Yeah.
So this is really good. There's another band that was on tour called Vo, Veaux.
We've had them on the show
Yeah,
twice.
they are amazing. They are amazing without a doubt.
Yeah.
So I've been listening to they just put out a new song. I think I've been listening to that a lot lately. It's been really good.
Yeah, I got they had sent that to us, so I need to check it out. I was been traveling a little bit, so I need to get on my Vogue grind. I
Yeah,
love they've got some great stuff.
they
I
do. They
definitely
were
need to get
great here. Yeah, they were really good. Unfortunately, the ticket sales were not the best, but I think the people that were here really enjoyed it. That's kind of some of the hardships of, I say hardship, it's not that dramatic, but
yeah,
one of the downsides of doing this is like you'll see a really great band or you'll book a great band and that they're so good, but there's just no one comes out, or it's just like, excuse me, like ticket sales or something, and it's kind of heartbreaking because it's like I know these guys are great. I want to get them back in, and I'll book them as many times as it takes so we can fill this room up, whatever it is. But sometimes you see it, like it's for whatever reason, it's just nobody comes out. There's 5 people sitting in here, but the band's on stage just giving it 100%.
yeah.
But
That's awesome. Well, we'll definitely we recommend Vo as well. I love that we got some crossover, and they're
yeah,
great guys. I think that I need to make a point when I come back to get out there, and we'll get them on the as much of a train as we can on the Indiebnb.
yeah,
We'll put the reach out there.
right,
Um, try to get as much as we can for you, but. Julia, this has been awesome. I appreciate you taking the time to do this. I know, you got a
of
great
course,
schedule, and I think this will be an awesome thing to just so people can understand Smiths and understand, the process, and I think there's a
yeah,
lot of value in, getting out there and people understanding how the sausage gets made a little bit when it comes to
yeah.
it. So I appreciate you sharing all that with us.
No, it's good. I appreciate you and appreciate you doing this. And, for any of the artists listening, I mean, it's not rocket science. I'm just going to say, spend some time and get your assets together, get some good photos, get a link tree, get your Spotify updated, link everything together,
Yeah,
make it easy for people who want to help, you put a contact email on your link tree. God, I see a link tree with 45 music videos and songs, but there's no email address on there. Like help me help you. I'm not gonna DM you on Instagram because it's just a pain to do that kind of thing. But this is good. We love supporting all kinds of artists and Atlanta artists, and like I said, we take it seriously. And I tell artists all the time, let's get your photo on the wall. Let's get your name in the hallway, and we mean it. You know, we want to see you grow. We want to see you sell us out. We want to see you go on to a bigger venue.
Yeah,
You know, because that means we did our job. So.
yeah. I love that. Yeah, I was with somebody, I think perfect example, getting your name on the wall. I was with somebody who I don't think he'd ever really been to Smith's, or he hadn't been in the Atlanta room. And like I looked over and like I was like talking to him, and I let go, you know what? This band right here, and I pointed to Gold Parks sticker, and I was like, I
Yeah.
saw them right here open up for somebody, and then I saw them headline like a year later, and they're really good. You need to go check them out
They're
like
so good.
immediately. And so I think
Yeah.
like getting this, getting that asset together, because people are looking at that wall, man. They're looking to see who's been there and what's been going on. And I love that
Yeah.
that you guys have that awesome setup. So Juliette, again,
Man,
thank you.
every time I'm here, I find a new sticker or a new photo. Like for real, like just walking around and looking at the stickers or the photos in the main bar area or whatever. And I'll just stand there and be like, God, Michelle Branch played here? Jeez, I didn't even know that, you know, like
Yeah,
just just or I'll random see something, you know, be like, man, you know, I love it. Just gets me more excited.
yeah,
So
I love that. Well, there go check out smithsoulbar.com. They have all the shows, all the ticket information for upcoming events. Not sure when this will come out, but I know it'll be updated. I know that there's going to be some great shows on the docket because Juliette's, the best. So we appreciate you taking the time to get on our pod and our platform here, and hopefully we got some great advice out there. We got some great history out there. We'll definitely have to do this again and get an update on as things progress. Maybe yearly or something. Maybe during the 30th. I love that I'm
love
the
it.
same age as Smiths. I'm in the I'm,
Right.
I'm on the right deal. So
There you go.
we'll be good. Well, appreciate you.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.